Hello, everybody. I'm Mayor Linda Gorton, and I'm here with our Acting Commissioner of Environmental Quality and Public Works, Charlie Martin, and we're here to talk about the road projects that are going on, seems like all over the place, Charlie, and some of the detail of how that works. I know a lot of people have been very frustrated by some of this, as am I, but you know, there's a lot that goes into it. So we're here on Wilgus Avenue, and they've had some road projects going on recently, and so we want to kind of talk about this. We're in Lexington's East End, and so Charlie, I think Wilgus is supposed to be paved in the coming future.
It's on the near-term list. It's
the near-term list.
The very top of the list, because most all the utility work here is done.
Okay. Well, so Charlie and I have talked about how this works when utilities are doing their work, and it's a very linear process. And can you tell us a little bit about how that starts and what it looks like?
Yeah. What I mean by a linear process is that usually it's different contractors working for different utilities, and so one needs to finish their work before the second one comes in or the third one comes in, so the duration sometimes can be really long. And it happens two different ways. One, utility may have it in their master plan that they're going to do this, and so the other utilities line up behind that along with the paving, and then it goes in that order.
And we're part of that, right?
We're part of that too.
Sort of a utility with our sewers, right?
Absolutely, Division of Water Quality. You know, the end goal of this is to make sure that everything under that pavement is as good a condition as it can before we put down new asphalt, because nothing is more infuriating as to see it get dug up as soon as it gets paved.
Well, I think you will remember this. I think years ago, we didn't have any process. I mean, 20 years ago or more. And so I do think that we've done a lot over the years to coordinate the projects.
We have done a lot to coordinate the projects. There's still work that can be done. I think you learn lessons each year, and we're learning some lessons this year from this as well about how to try to be able to compress that duration so it's not so intrusive on the public, and also improve performance, that if it's going to last a long time, how does the temporary patch or restoration go in such a way to where it's a fairly smooth ride as opposed to riding over a bunch of speed bumps.
Like right here, we have a pretty smooth in the back. I forget what you call it, but they've really smoothly covered it over because they're finished with their work, but it's not paved yet.
Right. Something new that the Division of Engineering implemented this year is concrete to surface. Before, we'd always use that temporary cold patch or even hot patch, and it sinks and it comes out when it freezes and thaws. And so many of us are trying to use the concrete to surface. Where I think we've got a real opportunity to improve is somehow we're going to have to reach down to the contractors and the subcontractors and train and educate them a little bit more on the right way to do it. Because we've had some concrete to surface that hasn't been correct. And so if you do it correctly, you can have kind of what we've got here behind us, and it's got more of a long-term duration to it while it's waiting on final surface.
I think, recently, one of the things, so you just mentioned that kind of process, one of the things was that some of the utilities hadn't really done that smooth surface before actually doing the final paving, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about, I have recently learned myself how some of this works. So when you find out there are other utilities going to have projects and we're supposed to pave the road. If I understand correctly, we're first if we have work to do because we're the sanitary sewer down below, right?
We're typically the deepest utility of the three that are going to be in the street. And then, Columbia Gas or Kentucky American will be into the mix as well. And you'll notice places along this street and other streets, it's linear along the street, but also there's stuff that goes off to the side. Those are the individual services that come to these houses or to businesses or anything else. And you definitely want to take advantage of replacing those things while you can. From sanitary standpoint, it's still a point of failure, so fix it while you can before the asphalt comes. The Kentucky American also has to deal with lead service lines. You know, there's a whole initiative on a national level
yes.
to get rid of lead service lines, and so I think that's part of their program as well, is to replace those service connections to the meter. You'll see several places where they've cut and replaced the sidewalk, and there's a new meter box sitting there.
Okay.
And again, all those things, they roll on top of one another that create a longer duration to where, you know, the average citizen, and I get this because remember they paved outside my street for a sewer project last year, is will this ever end, you know? And so shortening the duration and minimizing those dead times where you don't see anybody working is a big priority for me. And I know it's a big priority for the Division of Engineering and the right-of-way program as well, is to get the contractors and subcontractors for the utilities to do a better job of temporary restoration, because then does not generate as many calls as poor restoration.
People don't understand when they see a project getting dug up and then it sits with nothing being done. So that's a good goal. So after we do our sewer work under there, then the next utility, say it's Columbia Gas, then if they have work to do, fine, they do it. If they don't, it goes to water, if they're all under there, and water, Kentucky American does their project.
Yeah.
Now, who is responsible for that initial covering up? Not the final paving, but after Kentucky American's done, do they do that?
Yeah,
close that up?
Their contractor or subcontractor would do the temporary restoration as well, either with hot mix or with concrete to surface, if they're allowed to demonstrate that they have the ability to be able to do that.
Okay.
And everybody's supposed to get their stuff up with temporary surfacing up to existing pavement where it smooths out the ride, and then the Division of Engineering through the right-of-way program goes out there and assesses it and determines whose share is what.
Okay, for the payment of it.
Right.
Cost sharing.
Right. We actually do the paving, but those utilities, including water quality, pay their share of the restoration, because then that is also a benefit to the citizens, is we're not paying 100% of the resurfacing, we're paying a fraction of it.
Our portion. Now, some roads that have projects going on, you see metal plates out there. Does that mean they're still working and they're not ready to close it up, or is that something different?
When they temporarily do something, they have to cover it with a plate until they can bring it up to regular surface. And so, for example, if you're pouring concrete, it's got to set up. So they'll cover that with a plate and then come back and remove that plate once the concrete is set up. But it's temporary light. It should not reside there for a lengthy period of time. But they have to fill out an application to be able to do that goes to Streets and Roads, so they know where they're at, and we track where they are, particularly when snow removal comes along.
You know, this is a lot of communication, isn't it?
There's a lot of different people involved in this, and since I've gotten involved in it in the last 2 months, I've wondered whether or not we've got to figure out some way to centralize this a little bit more. So Commissioner Horn and I plan on having a conversation with him about that, because we're in the two different departments, and so how do we consolidate this to where someone is the pavings are? It's a $15 million a year program. It needs good attention.
And it seems like communication with LFUCG, the utilities, the paving, that's us in the end. It's complicated communications,
right? Yes, it is. It's a constant thing. There is a paving coordination meeting every Monday morning. I missed this morning. Others are handling that and stuff.
Well, that's good.
And then there is a utility coordinating meeting that is held 3 times a year. And that's where everybody comes in, and through a Teams meeting and stuff. The next one is July the 9th. I've got some ideas, again, like I said, trying to figure out how, if we've educated the utilities, how are we educating their contractors in such a way as that they're performing to meet our expectations and not in conflict with the people who are paying them.
So you're continuously trying to improve the communications, and it helps people on a road like Wilgus avenue to understand a little bit more about how the process goes, why sometimes it takes a long time, right?
Right.
Well, I want to talk to you about something different here. Well, first of all, I think a lot of people aren't aware that we have city roads that we're responsible for, and we have state roads. Is there a way for people to tell the difference?
Well, there's signage that would tell you, but you'd almost have to know what you're looking for sometimes too. You know, you've got the black sign with a white oval with a number inside of it, or a shield type of number inside of it. Usually if it's got a number, it is a state or a federal highway. And then the state is responsible for both federal and state roads in a particular county. If it's outside New Circle, if it's outside the perimeter of New Circle and it's got one of those numbers on it, you can pretty much assure that that's a state road.
Most of the big roads coming in and out of town out there are state.
Right.
So I know there was a lot of confusion, for example, with New Circle Road. It's state, correct? And so they maintain it, they plow it. It's their road, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's hard to keep track of every road and what it is, but it's anyway, the point of it is some of the roads are our cities and some of the roads are our states' responsibilities.
Right. And even inside New Circle, Broadway was an issue last week.
Yes.
That we sweep it, we do the general maintenance, but when it comes to resurfacing, that is a federal highway. Still, even though it's signed as Broadway, it's a federal highway.
So then
They
are
resurface it.
under their schedule.
Yes.
Okay, well, I know we have good relationships with the state folks, and that's a continuous improvement on communications, just like the utilities that work in the roads. I want to ask you about something else that I think people really are interested in, potholes.
Okay.
So here in Lexington in Kentucky, we have the kind of weather that it freezes in the winter, we get a lot of snow or a lot of rain and another freeze, and so potholes are prevalent, right? And so I have a number here that I don't know if you've heard lately, but I was pretty surprised. Since January, we have filled 5,353 potholes.
That's pretty good.
That's a lot. So
hopefully it's not the same one over and over again.
That's almost. It's really over 1,000 a month.
Yes.
And I think that's fairly typical when we have pretty severe winter weather, isn't it?
Yeah, I think when it warms up and then we're not tied up with the other things that the Streets and Roads does, it's kind of all hands on deck about potholes.
Yeah, that's a lot of potholes.
It is.
How do we do that? We have some kind of little machine, right, that goes through and can do individual potholes, and they can do them when the temperature is high enough. I don't know what that temperature is, probably above freezing or something.
It's probably in the 40s, and they're looking for an extended period of time as well, too. So.
And so what do you recommend people do to report a pothole? Because we're pretty good about responding.
The same thing I tell everybody when they want to report something. Lex Call 311 is the source.
Yes.
I mean, that's the only way you and I can get data like what you have there about not only what did we do, but how many calls do we have? Did anything fall through the cracks? Is there a trend here? The Lex Call record is so much better than just picking up the phone and calling somebody's office.
Yes, they're good at keeping those records. So if you know where a pothole is, you call 311 and you give them an address or a place. If there's not a specific address, give a place on the road and the name of the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So they can identify.
It's a hard one to do for people and stuff. It's like about also reporting street lights, because people don't always know what address that was. They just know it's on such and such a street. But if you can even say it's halfway down, Elm Street, that helps.
Well, 311's awesome. I mean, people can report almost anything at 311, and they'll see that it gets to the right division. This is really helpful for me. I hope it's helpful for the folks out there who deal with this. I know it can be frustrating for everybody. But the whole point is that we keep working to have better coordination, better communications, and it's a complex process
Right.
to fix these roads.
The great thing about it is when it's done, there's new pipes under there. Some, especially like in this neighborhood, some of these pipes are the oldest ones we have in Lexington. They've been in service for 80 years.
Oh my
They're
word.
well overdue to get replaced, and so to take the time and the opportunity to make that investment, it provides longer-term stability for the neighborhood.
Yes, that's really good. Well, Charlie, I thank you so much.
Okay,
It's
thank
been
you so
great
much.
to talk with you about this. I also want to thank the crews who are out on the roads working on these projects every single day, because I think frequently, they're just doing their work, trying to get it done, and we appreciate them also. We appreciate the people's patience during all these processes. So it's good for a city to be able to have this kind of work going on. It seems like it goes on all the time, and it probably does, right?
It's a constant thing.
Yeah, so it's good.
I've heard you say this before. It's a sign of a healthy community.
It is.
Yes,
It really is. So thank you all.